Oh, this is 1 week rental, and this is the first episode in our Summer of Nolan miniseries covering the films of Christopher Nolan during the summer of 2026. First up, Memento, the movie that made Christopher Nolan's career. This is our full video episode about that movie. We get into the history of Memento and the early career of Christopher Nolan, first his movie following, then this movie Memento. We also give our sort of big picture thoughts on Christopher Nolan, preview the series to come, and then dive deep into Memento, review it, discuss it, analyze, try to make sense of it, and tell you what we think of it. If you care only about the movie discussion, if you want to skip past the history stuff, look in the episode description or look on screen right now and just skip to that part of the episode and hear Laci and I talk all about Christopher Nolan's Memento.
I'm trapped in space, or in a dream, or in a hole. I can't do anything. My wife is dead. It wasn't me.
Sure.
I'm on a beach, and I can't ever leave. I built a bomb, a Batman bomb. What have I done? Turns out the bomb is me. Soaking up the sun with Christopher. Enjoying surfing sand with Christopher. Thinking about time with my friend Christopher.
This is
the story
best.
of a girl.
This is the story of a girl who cried a river and drowned the
Whole world.
the whole world. Yeah. What an auspicious start to our Christopher Nolan miniseries. Welcome to 1 week rental. This is the best time of the year when we do a summer miniseries. 2 years ago, it was Steven Spielberg. Last year, it was The Rock. This year, it's the Summer of Nolan, baby.
And we like to dive in and really get to know this man behind the work and just start just getting real parasocial about it and diagnosing him and everything. But you know what I think we're actually discovering is ourselves.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what we're trying to answer this question. Christopher Nolan, what's up with him?
What you doing?
What's his deal anyway? But in the end, we really just learn about ourselves, that we are trapped in a dream or in space
and
or
all
on
we
a beach.
do is project. Also, I'm not wearing any underwear. Unrelated to this.
I'm Matt Stokes.
And I'm Laci Roth.
And this is 1 week rental. Every week we spend 7 days with a movie, obsessing over that movie, researching it, learning all about it.
Pictures of it, tattooing it to our bodies in different fonts for some reason.
In case we forget. Yeah, and sometimes we have to be like, this doesn't make any damn sense. Oh, I'm standing in front of a mirror. It spells Memento. That was Christopher Nolan's second movie.
And then I'm standing there with awesome minty breath thinking, I thought it said Mentos.
No, you got to read the fine print, by which I mean the letters.
I'm dyslexic. I'm going back. It's fucking me. Yeah, I just want to know about the night that Lenny went to get the big fucking old English tattoo across. He really wanted to remember that point. I don't even remember what it is.
I figure he was very.
It's not that one.
No, it's not that one. I think he was upsold by the tattoo artist.
I think
on
so.
that
I think
one,
it was just a really enthusiastic person that didn't understand why he was doing it. And he's like, no, this is the only body I have. I have to. Oh shit.
No, he bought extended warranty and stuff on that tattoo, stuff that doesn't exist. He bought the Geek Club support for the tattoo.
I gotta get us.
But yeah, about this podcast, 1 week rental, we tell you all about the movie. But during the summer, we do things a little bit differently. And if this is your first time with us for the summer, it is our favorite time because we get to dig in on an individual and answer that question. What's up with that guy?
What's up with that guy?
We settled on Christopher Nolan, and then I got worried that when we dug into Steven Spielberg, and then I think especially with The Rock, these are deeply neurotic men, and we like that. We like our neurotic, fucked up men.
We
fucked
feel
up
cozy.
in a good way. Yes, we cozy up.
Oh God, I think I know what you're going to say.
What?
Is Nolan well-adjusted?
Yeah, so this was actually my concern the more I dug into him. Is this just kind of a normal, well,
then I've got
he's got
theories.
his shit together. But I'm No. I think there's so much to dig into beyond his movies. I mean, the whole point of this is we look at the movies and then try to weave a broader story about...
Even if he doesn't see it, we'll see it.
About what makes these people tick and what are they trying to say and what do they not understand that they're about themselves that they're nevertheless communicating to us.
Maybe what's up with Nolan is that he's stupid.
Why do you think he's
Because
stupid?
maybe he thinks he's making like these think pieces, these like really complicated, like, oh man, people are gonna have to watch this more than once, and he thinks that makes it smart. But that's what a stupid person would think.
That is one of the wrinkles that I think is interesting. Now, I don't think he's stupid. I think he's very smart and a very talented filmmaker.
Damn it.
There's a fucking bug. Like
We
on Mike
live
Pence.
in the swamp.
But as we watched Memento last night and Laci got mad at the movie.
I did not.
She said, this movie's for dumb people who think they're smart. And I think that's,
I didn't see it in 2002. That would have made a difference. It fucking won an MTV award and shit. Like it was important. People liked it. It was unlike other things that had come before. And it was like, oh shit, we got a new one. You know, I think even then we were like searching for the auteurs, even though we were swimming in them and didn't appreciate what we had. But it was like, oh, Nolan's kind of different. Yeah, but I would have been a teenager then, and that's exactly when I would have thought, this is a smart ass movie.
Yeah.
What I got mad about is that I did all kinds of homework during the movie, and the teacher didn't even ask for it at the end of the fucking class. I'm like, why was I paying attention?
because it's a noir, and that's the point of noir.
It's a noir. Do you know how many times I've watched a neo-noir only for someone to tell me that that's what it is, and I had no fucking idea? Shouldn't I be aware that's what I'm watching?
You weren't aware that it's a noir? I mean, like, just, oh, hey, they seem to be... Okay, I mean... Noirs tend to have very, very convoluted plots and often are very difficult to follow because they are about the experience of being caught up in a web that you can't fully wrap your head around. But that can make them frustrating if that's not what you're into watching. If you want to watch something to get answers, this movie concludes by saying there's no answers. And if you got an answer, it wouldn't satisfy you. In fact, Lenny, you got your answer. You already did, and it didn't mean shit to you. Oh. And that unlocked something for me about Nolan, which is I think he makes movies. He's so
searching.
He's so dominant in like film culture conversation as basically like the only director people pay attention to anymore. Because he makes movies that seem like puzzles. People online gobble them up and try to solve puzzles.
He's itching their conspiracy brain.
But I think... If you go back to our episode about The Shining, we said Stanley Kubrick would be furious at the people who try to solve The Shining.
Nolan's the opposite.
No, I don't think Nolan wants his movie. I think Nolan would say, if you're trying to solve the puzzle, you're missing the point.
Right, because these are movies about searching and looking for the thing that will fill the need that you feel in your heart. And the point is, you probably already found what you think you were looking for, and it didn't do anything. Yeah, there's no new version of it.
If you got what you say you want, it's not going to mean anything to you. And I didn't remember the Memento ending that way, and it really. I've only seen it a few times, but I find the last like 2 minutes to be the most interesting part of the movie by far.
Yeah, it's a weird movie where after the second half it gets good, and where I thought the whole thing was just going to be like this, like woo, yeah, fun, but it's challenging. The way that it goes backwards, but it also goes sideways, and it also goes frontwards, like less far than it did the time before. And then it's hard to grasp how long he's like actually holding on to memories. Like he was able to spend a night with a woman and not understand and not be confused why he was fucking somebody. So he was able to hold that in his head. But then sometimes when it fits the plot, it only takes 30 seconds for him to reset.
I don't know.
It's not consistent.
Is it? I don't know. I feel like that's the kind of thing he would be very consistent about, but maybe not. And maybe that's just not the point. And it is also, it's a movie, and movies are like, movies play with time too. When you're watching a movie, you're not watching something that occupies real time, and he's obsessed with time and he's obsessed with movies. Those are his two great subjects. You hear Christopher Nolan. What do you think?
This movie will be a little challenging. I'll have to pay attention, but that I'm in good hands, I guess.
Why do you think they're so popular, though?
It's like he's the smart blockbuster guy. It's like if Fincher's a little too avant-garde, I don't know if that's the right word, and then Spielberg's a little too blockbuster wholesome, and you just smush the two together, and you've got smart wholesome, or like you've got something for the whole family. I don't know. Like I think his movies are thought of as like fun, or at least like they stick with you. They matter in the culture, even if you're not sure why. no one laughs at him. He's not a joke. Where like you've got like your Tim Burtons who at first were like so praised and then turn into kind of a joke. And I'd say Nolan's just a safe director to admit you like, and no one's going to be like, what? He's found a way to make a bunch of mess that still appeals to a lot of people.
I guess I want to try to figure out what exactly though is he doing that other filmmakers are not, that does translate to that broad audience.
Mm-hmm.
Why does his biopic of a physicist in the 40s make $1 billion? And one thing that I'm thinking is more and more interesting about him is he seems like he feels a little guilt that he's the only one who gets to do it. That he talks about the responsibility of getting to use all this wonderful technology and shoot on film and shoot on entirely on IMAX and all these expensive locations, use in-camera practical effects, make movies the way David Lean made movies in the 50s. But if you know you're the only person who gets to do that, how does that make you feel? Don't you feel like there's not
like Oppenheimer?
I'm not that special. I'm good, but
I just keep getting lucky.
But wouldn't it be nice if like this, if me making these successful movies meant lots of other filmmakers also got to make big movies this way?
It does put a lot of pressure on him to like make the most of it for everyone. That's not fair.
And it's not trickling down in any way. It's just he's the only one who gets to do it.
Okay, but like, so aren't there ways? Shouldn't he be like taking people under his wing? Shouldn't he be mentoring more people? Shouldn't there be executive producers or co-directors or like? There's got to be a way. Maybe he's not good at training, but if their name's on a project and he knows his project's too good, then that's got to help them, right?
I don't think it does. And I don't know of any.
So you're saying Nolan himself is IP?
Yeah.
Yeah. His name is cash in the bank.
And I don't think he likes that.
Right.
I don't think he's like torn up about it, but I think he does feel something about it. And I think that's why he relates to Oppenheimer so much. And why he is the heir to Spielberg, because both of them had this early career movie, Jaws for Steven Spielberg in 1975, Batman Begins for Nolan in 2005, that while these movies are good, they arguably changed the movie industry for the worse. And I think Nolan feels a lot of guilt about that. And Spielberg, while not feeling guilt, is kind of like, that's funny. And then they both go on to make movies commenting on that. I think Jurassic Park is kind of a comment on Spielberg being like, we didn't know what we were doing. We never asked if we should do this. And then with Nolan, it's Oppenheimer. Should I have made Batman Begins and started the era of blockbuster superhero movies?
Let me undo it by taking a historical movie and making that a blockbuster. At least maybe we'll be doing this more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll look forward to the people who invented penicillin movie coming out. I'm trying to think of other things I remember in my history textbooks.
Yeah,
I remember the bomb.
And when I heard he's making an Oppenheimer movie, I thought, well, that sounds boring, before knowing that it's kind of, he says this is a heist movie. It's got the energy of a heist movie. You assemble the team to do a project. And that's one of the reasons that movie is so fun. God, there's so much to fucking say. I'm overwhelmed. But the good thing about this is, yes, we have so much time. And this episode is going to be about Memento, but we wanted to sort of give some big picture thoughts on Nolan up at the beginning. Before we get to the movie, subscribe, everybody. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave reviews, all that stuff. Thank you so much.
Do it before you don't remember to do it.
Exactly.
Tattoo it to your leg.
Take a Polaroid of your review and send it to us.
Oh. And there's no other way to find out if I ever put on underwear. If you don't like,
no,
get
I won't
all
tell
the way
you.
It's not up to you. And you won't know. Only my doctor's going to know.
That's between a woman and her doctor. It's a private decision.
I'm going to go to my OBGYN.
And finally, our theme song. We have a theme song, and as always, we love our beautiful musical collaborators, TJ Behrens.
They're so beautiful.
On the ones and twos, and Wade Hemel, my bandmate, playing the drums and the tambourine.
Did he?
Going woo, ooh, ooh, and just taking my insane ideas and making them good. And to Laci for singing as well.
I'm mainly I'm the commentary on the song. I'm the talking.
You're the ad-libber. You're the sporty spice.
I'm getting crazy.
I'll be there.
Oh, I wish.
So, ready to talk about the history of Memento? Let's do it.
It's the only part of it I'll remember.
Christopher Nolan. Who is Christopher Nolan?
He's only 5'11". Oh, God.
That's how tall I am.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. No. Well, he's born in 1970, Matt, so that makes him 55 years old right now.
Yeah,
and
he is.
His wife, Emma Thompson, who is
Thomas.
not the girl from Harry Potter. That's all I know because it's all on the screen. You told me they're a little duo.
Yeah, they're a little duo. They're always together. She is his producer. She's produced all of his movies. Any footage of him working on set, she's usually there. They went to school together in London.
Aww.
In this photo of them from the late 90s, does he not look like Leonardo DiCaprio?
He does look like a smushed, sad Leonardo DiCaprio.
And in Inception, Leonardo DiCaprio looks very much like Christopher Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
And in that movie, everybody, I didn't make up this theory. Lots of people subscribe to it, that movie, everybody corresponds to the role on a movie set. DiCaprio's the director, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's the producer, et cetera, et cetera. But Christopher Nolan, born in 1970, grew up split between two worlds, England and America, because his father was a British advertising executive, literally had Don Draper's job. He was a creative director. And then his mother was an American flight attendant. And they split time between London and Chicago. So
Bet they got a good deal on those flights.
They must have. That must be why they were always doing it.
Smoking in the sky. That sounds like fucking amazing.
He's the middle child. His older brother's name is Matthew, a.k.a. Matt, and his younger brother is Jonathan, a.k.a. Jonah, who is his frequent collaborator. Jonah grew up, right. Oh, Jonah grew up more in Chicago. So the weird thing about the Nolan brothers is Christopher sounds like this posh British gentleman. And Jonah's like, hello, pleased to meet you over there. Let's go catch a game with the Cubbies.
Okay.
But what about that other brother? What about Matt Nolan?
Oh, God.
All right. Well, Matt Nolan was accused in the 2000s of a check kiting scheme.
God, I know what the fuck everything goes back to Leo. So he's a catch me if you can.
This is such a Frank Abagnale scheme. So he would open a bank account in Costa Rica, write a check from that account, deposit it in a bank in Chicago, then withdraw the money from the account because there's always the time before the money actually clears. The bank will let you take out a certain amount of money and then the check bounces and he runs away. And ultimately he got about $600,000 via this.
Wow.
This is from a 2010 article in the Sunday Times. Matthew Nolan is believed to have stolen at least $600,000. He would name drop his brother, Christopher Nolan. My brother Chris is shooting a movie in town. I believe it's called The Dark Knight. Maybe I can get you some tickets to the premiere. Now, he was arrested in Chicago and held awaiting extradition to Costa Rica because he was accused of having tortured and murdered a man there. This from the Sunday Times. Quote, Nolan has been in federal jail in Chicago awaiting extradition to Costa Rica since February this year. In March, he was discovered planning his escape from the Metropolitan Correctional Center, a prison notoriously difficult to escape from. According to the authorities, a search of Nolan's cell discovered 31 feet of improvised rope, which had been braided together from bedding, a makeshift harness, and a metal clip of a pen cap, which Nolan manipulated to make a handcuff key. He also had a razor blade hidden in a bar of soap. Local newspapers called it a Batman-like escape attempt.
More like Bane.
End
But
quote.
by the time you've gotten all that together, just let him go. That's
He tried
cool.
really hard. He wants it
Yeah.
really badly.
He did a bunch of things.
Now, eventually, a Chicago judge determines there's insufficient evidence of the murder in Costa Rica to grant the extradition, but he is still charged with 14 months in prison for the escape attempt.
Wait. Okay, so a murder and a what? A torture?
Torture. That he tortured this guy before murdering him.
No, got it. I understand the order of events, but just make sure it was
Yeah.
that word.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Now, one more thing about this. After this, Matt Nolan's whereabouts right now currently unknown. His younger two brothers
He's incredible.
do not talk about him. But one final thing,
There's
an
gotta be.
alias that Matt Nolan would use during his criminal operations.
Matt Stokes.
His alias was Oppenheimer.
Oh, wait, before he made the movie or?
Yeah, this is like
Okay.
20 years ago. Presumably, if you grow up with this guy as your brother,
Mm-hmm.
he's always up to some stuff. You got to figure, always running some game.
He's
doing
so
some
smart.
schemes.
He could be doing anything else. He's eventually going to blow up the world. He's Oppenheimer.
You always know these guys who always have like an angle on something. They're always cooking up some scheme to get rich.
The thing about those guys, though, is that they're very smart.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really run into, when you've run into the dumb kind of those.
Yeah. But we watched Nolan's first movie Following this week, and he made that in his 20s. And they're about con artists and sort of low-level street thugs running cons and games and stuff. And Nolan always makes movies about cons and heists and grifts and femme fatales.
Mm-hmm. His movies are trying to understand that person, trying to understand his brother.
One can only conclude that this is an enormous part of Christopher Nolan's story that he just does not talk about.
Yeah, I could see him using his art to work that out. I thought for sure his wife was dead, and then you said that bitch is always around. So I was like, well, then what is it?
Yeah, because he's always making movies about a man whose wife is dead or a man who fears his wife is going to die.
Okay, but like specifically the two movies I'm thinking about are like of like this perfect angelic wife and like these weird fuzzy memories of her being perfect. So like that could also just be I have this like feeling and thought that I used to have, like, you know, like Make America Great Again. Like there was a time in my life where things were perfect, like that nostalgia, that false memory of like, no, people were prancing in the fields or whatever the fuck it is. It's perfect about days of yore, but that they had a great childhood and he was such a good brother and he was just so fun. But maybe he was always a little bit broken. So he's like, what happened? But the point is, you're just not remembering anything the right way. You're idolizing the past before you knew he did anything wrong, before you had to think about your brother this way. That's the part that's perfect, not him.
Or you got this guy who's just like, you feel like is always poisoning things in your family. Like, why can't you be the well-behaved, well-dressed brother like me, Chris, and my younger Chicago brother, Jonah?
We've got John Hamm and we've got a fucking flight attendant and now this.
But you said, while we watched the movie Memento together, this whole dead wife thing, did Christopher Nolan lose his wife? And I said, no, his wife is his best friend. They've been married for 30 years. She's his producer. She's always with him. And you said, oh, okay. So she's so terrified of losing her.
He is so
terrified of losing her
that he makes movies about
because she is the tether. She is the tether to reality. Because he's somebody who is trying, in both Following and Memento, trying to understand human nature by sort of breaking it into its component parts. What is it? What constitutes someone's identity? In Following, it's a collection of stuff you put in your shoebox. In Memento, it's like, if I can't make new memories, then what even makes a person a person?
Well, you know, it could be one of the situations where he realized when she's around, I'm more palatable to everyone and it just makes my life easier. So, I mean, like the idea that he's always there, I think she's always there, that almost seems like a crutch. And so it's like this fear of she's what makes me cool and people get me and she softens me or whatever it is. That there are so many relationships like this.
Yours and mine.
I constantly find myself in them where like I'm like vouching for the person who's not as socially adept as I am, and I don't mean to be this for that person, but like I love that role. And it's like, well, if I'm going to keep wanting to make movies, you can't die. Do not die. All these movies about you, don't die.
You make me less annoying to people, and I play the role where the guy then comes up to me later and says, she's a lot of fun, isn't she?
You make me less annoying to people too, because I seem like this wild lady who couldn't possibly be domesticated, and it's like they don't really know
you're
me.
You're boring and quiet.
I'm
You're not quiet. I'm quiet.
Wait,
you're boring.
No, the boring part was the part I didn't like. Never mind.
No, you're not
boring
quiet.
And loud. How?
You're boring and loud.
Oh, that sucks.
No, I know. We're both boring. We're both boring and don't do anything.
We're just regular people. Yes. I mean, no one's like constantly on. And if they are, guess what? They're annoying.
So here's the other thing that connects him to Spielberg is he didn't go to film school like Spielberg didn't go to film school, but they both have this hugely romantic idea of the movies, the magic of the Grand Palace where you go watch the movie and you're engulfed by the picture.
Wouldn't you also put Tarantino in this? Because his goes beyond. His is like all things people make, even commercials, even
he's taken in all the garbage too and the TV. Whereas I think Spielberg and Nolan are like, you got to go to the theater, to the cinema, and be engulfed in it. Well, that's where the magic is.
Wouldn't Grindhouse be evidence that he also cares about like the platform? I know he was doing that to help a friend, but I don't know. I just feel like Tarantino gets left out all the time. Like there's this boys club, and how many years apart are Spielberg and this dude? He's closer to Tarantino's age than he is to Spielberg. And he actually looks like him.
Yeah, and when I first came to awareness of Nolan, I very much grouped him in with Tarantino because it was
Right.
It's weird to think of it now, but until Batman Begins, he was like he's one of these like Sundance guys. He makes these cool little movies like Reservoir Dogs or Memento or Donnie Darko or something.
Right.
Those were the kinds of movies he made, and then Batman Begins happened, and he became.
But do you
I
know
only make huge movies.
Do you know if Tarantino went to film schools? I didn't know if he did. I was just like, let him be in the club, please.
I was just linking the two because of the specific thing where like going to the movies is like church, and Tarantino was more like going to the video store and watching the television is also my church.
Okay, I agree. Wholeheartedly agree, Tarantino.
So they didn't go to film school, but they taught themselves how to make movies by making movies. They made movies as kids. They made movies in college. He and his wife, Emma Thomas, went to the same college, University College London, and ran the film society there. Again, they weren't film students. He was studying English, but he runs the film
like a hobby
society.
Club,
yeah. But they screen movies at their film society, make money that way, and then use that money to fund their own amateur movies. So one member of the film society, his name was Matthew Tempest, and he wrote in The Guardian in 2011 about his memories of his old friend. Quote, "It was pretty obvious to anyone at the University College London Film Society in the early 90s, which comprised about half a dozen of us in a windowless, airless basement, that Chris Nolan was going places. I thought his career might even go all the way and he might shoot a few adverts before eventually, if he got lucky, directing episodes of The Bill and Coronation Street. That was simply how the UK film industry was back then. The only career path was to worm a way into directing for telly or commercials. It had been generations since John Schlesinger, Ridley and Tony Scott, Adrian Lyne, and Alan Parker had managed to make the leap from London and telly to Hollywood."
Well, you see, our boy Nolan's been making that puddle jump his whole life.
Yeah, no big deal for him whatsoever.
He's got airline miles.
This sort of dead zone where there is no pipeline from the British film industry into Hollywood. Whereas in an earlier generation, there was, and that's where you get your Ridley Scotts and your Adrian Lynes.
Is there a pipeline from any other country to Hollywood? Or is it specifically just that their pipeline is
I don't know how any of it works
New Zealand?
anymore.
No.
Probably yes, because so many productions are based in Australia and New Zealand.
So you end up making like connections because you're there on location.
Chris, however, was different. Not only in appearance, a permanent open-collared shirt and linen suit as an undergraduate, even as the rest of us took pride in our early 90s indie grunge student status, but is in his ambition and focus, end quote. Now, the author of that column also points out that Nolan also stood out because the rest of the film society were into all the artsy European art house movies. Nolan liked Blade Runner. He liked big Hollywood movies. He was a populist. Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing is people will say, oh, Nolan's so pretentious. So he makes like smart movies. But I don't think he thinks of himself that way at all. He thinks of himself as a Steven Spielberg or a David Lean. I make big movies for everyone, for the populace at large. And that's the main thing I want to do is I want to entertain you. So he works in the British film industry in the 90s in like corporate films, industrial films, works his way through this while shooting his own short films on the weekend and works his way up to financing and producing and directing his first feature film, Following.
With Spielberg, there's all these delightful tales from his family and his sisters of him, like literally since his earliest ability to work a camera, making these movies and the neighborhood kids watching them and starring in them and all that. And I mean, with Nolan having two brothers, are they very far apart or like, do we know yet if he was making these movies at a young age or it was appreciation, college, then movies?
He made movies as a kid. I didn't find any like cute stories like with Spielberg, but I'm not saying they're not out there. I just haven't found them. But his younger brother also wanted to be a filmmaker and has become one.
Who is who does his brother play in the so his first movie is called Following and I see it says and John Nolan. That's his brother?
That's his uncle.
His uncle
was he plays the cop. His uncle was a working actor in London. So Following, his first feature film, he pays for it himself, shoots it on the weekends over a long period of time. It's just we get some free time, so on the weekends we go make a movie, shoot it in black and white because we can't afford lights, so we have to use natural lighting. That means, okay, if we do it in black and white, people won't notice that like the lighting doesn't match the colors or whatever. Just how can we make this as cheaply as possible, shoot in people's in like the apartments that belong to our family and friends. and they make this movie, which you watched this week for the first time. I had only seen it once before, but
I didn't finish the last 20 minutes, and I'm going to, because like it is captivating from the very start. Like it's so good. And once I knew it was his very first, I wasn't expecting a ton. I thought he'd throw every trick that he had, but I feel like it was very measured, very, I don't know, like pulled. It was very professional, and that's so interesting to hear. That is the whole. I feel like that is a through line with all great directors, is that in the beginning they are really, really good at knowing how to use their resources and what they have access to, and then create their idea around it. It's kind of like the way that I'm in awe how you start with the music for your song, like literally the instruments, and then you think of the lyrics, where my brain is the opposite. So it's just I much more think I could be a director who writes a movie than I could be a songwriter who writes the music of a song.
I can't imagine being a director, but it is funny that whenever I think of directors, that's the part I never think about of just filmmaking, is like all of this, man. You'll hear people say like, what it's all about is spreadsheets and ledgers and stuff. And that's actually how you make movies, is you make your lists of resources and when can we use them and how.
Yes. Well, and ever since being on this podcast and like actually getting to know people who make movies, not a lot of them, but like just a little bit, enough to realize like the people's first and second and third projects that don't quite get there are the way overly like they had the idea before they had the means. And it's when you're having to like pretend too much about what it is you're looking at, it just takes you out of it. There's no these guys are just walking around a city that they can walk around anytime they want. It's a great sense of place. Like he's literally following, so it makes sense that the camera's just following some guy. It's captivating. We feel like we're doing something we're not supposed to do. And so like even just the story and the characteristics of the characters make everything that you can do for free so much more compelling.
And so modest in its ambitions, but so professional and so precise, and so much he's already structuring his movies in the way his movies will always be structured, in some ways that I find annoying. I think it is frustrating that he insists always on jumping around through time and giving you, parceling out the information at a deliberate pace.
Interstellar is just like a big fucking fuck you. It's like, oh, you don't like jumping through time? Jump through decades, bitch.
Yeah. And what I always forget about this early part of his career is how much he is emphasizing noir in his movies.
Do you think it was just cost?
And I think he's interested in it. He's obsessed with Ridley Scott's movies. He's obsessed with Tony Scott. They both did a lot of noir. He's obsessed with like The Big Sleep and The Maltese Falcon. And he was also very influenced when he made Memento by The Matrix, which I just watched this week. I mean, I've seen it a billion times, but I watched it this week. And I always forget that The Matrix is a noir, especially for the first 45 minutes. So much of The Matrix, when they're in the real world, is it's rainy.
Before you understand
it's dark streets. It's like mysterious people.
That's why he was drawn to Batman. It's noir, but it makes sense why you'd be attracted to the material to begin with. You know, in that is the superhero story that is literally dark. You could see the darkness in the character in a way that you don't see with, I mean, pick any other one. Superman, Spider-Man are the ones that come to mind.
So it costs $6,000 to produce, and they finish it. Again, it's like they're shooting it over the course of a year or so, just a few hours at a time on the weekend, rather than...
Even the practical nature of that is just, that's just good movie making.
Right, because most people, if they make their low budget first movie, they go away for a week or whatever and just do it all then.
Right, you're rushing. And yes, going back to a project I've learned over my adult years, that always makes it better if I take a break. And even if it's a forced break, like I didn't do it for cognitive reasons, but then I come back and I just see it different.
Yeah. So 1998, this movie makes the film festival rounds. And this is like the golden age of the independent film festival scene. And it gets a lot of praise, makes a hefty return at the box office. It makes $120,000 at the box office.
So he did get a theater release.
He did, yes.
I mean, like, so what if you do well at festivals, you'll get like a limited release in theaters?
So he did find a distributor. I didn't write who the distributor was. But
this is like in England only?
No. It screened here too. So this led to his opportunity to make a bigger movie on a bigger budget. And again, this is the golden age of, or maybe right after the golden age of Sundance and Miramax and all of that. But Memento, this is the movie we're actually here to talk about. So the story that Christopher Nolan tells is that he and his brother Jonah were on a cross-country drive from Chicago to Los Angeles. And to fill the time, Jonah started telling him this idea he had for a short story. I'm reading now from this book, Christopher Nolan, the Iconic Filmmaker and His Works by Ian Nathan. Quote, inspired by a psychology class on anterograde memory loss and eventually published in Esquire as Memento Mori, it opens with a striking image. A man wakes up in a motel room. Looking into a mirror, he sees his entire body is covered with tattoos. Rather than designs, they are sentences, notes to self. One of them reads, John G. raped and killed your wife. Jonah knew his brother to be a sharp critic who'd be quick to sniff out the flaw in a story, the cog that didn't fit. But Christopher didn't raise a single objection. There was only more silence before he finally spoke. That's a terrific idea for a movie. End quote. Now, they then go their separate ways with this. They will collaborate in the future, but Christopher's like, I have an idea for how that could turn into a movie. And he writes a screenplay sort of based on the conversation they have right there, before Jonah had really come up with how he wanted to tell the story himself. He goes and writes it as a short story that gets published.
That makes sense too, because it kind of works in this idea of a road trip. The movie does feel like he's always on the road.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
And these like these hotels that are so anonymous that even he doesn't know which one he's at because they all look the same.
Yeah.
And there's 2 hotels in this movie, but like,
and I cannot track it.
I like most people probably think there's one.
Yeah, I always assumed there was just one. And they're just calling it 2 different things, or I didn't even notice. But you know, it's that thing of like, if somebody tells you about a movie that they've seen, and it sounds cool to you, and then you see the movie, and then you think, I liked the version that lived in my head before I saw it. I kind of think of this like this. He really enjoyed his brother telling him that story and things. I'd like to turn what you just said into a movie, because as my understanding is, the published short story that Jonah writes it doesn't have any of the backwards stuff. That's Nolan's idea of like how this is how we'll approach it.
Have you tried to think of the movie of how it would be if you went forward?
There is a version of that on the Blu-ray, and if I get a chance, I'm going to watch it.
I'm having a hard time even because it goes backwards then forwards, backwards, like, and then Tenet really plays with this idea, but like you can't actually just go backwards. You have to then go forward from the back. So that's the problem. It's the stop, start, restart, stop, start. That's why I can't put it all together. It starts to make you feel.
Makes you feel insane.
But that's why it goes like sad and dark, and you just feel bad for him. Where I feel like the movie opens and you're like, oh, he's a badass who, like, even with this has figured shit out.
Yeah, and I think one of his ideas, one of the reasons he thinks it'll make a great movie is if you tell the story in a certain way, your entire perspective on who this guy is and whether he's cool or whether he's like this cool badass Quentin Tarantino hero is going to be entirely inverted the more you understand about him.
Yeah, even and you know there's something up with the car because the actor playing Teddy cannot stop mentioning the car. As if like it didn't come with the package, you know. He's like, oh, easy for you to say. You're in the one in the Jaguar or whatever. But like he mentions it way too many times, and I'm like, okay, that's why, because it wasn't his. It's new in their little game that they're playing. It could have just as easily ended up with Teddy, but it somehow ended up with Lenny, and he hates that. And also, why does Teddy wake? Oh, sorry. I was like, how does Lenny know where his car is? So like, if he didn't get this fucking memory thing before, beep, 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 or a thing on your car, he would just never know where his car is. Or
and then
know that he has
forget
one.
what he's looking for.
It's literally the on the car that allows him to use
He's very lucky he was born when he was. When I think of Memento, I think once Nolan made Tenet, it's like, of course, he's always been into we'll go simultaneously forwards and backwards because Memento is a movie that goes backwards and also goes forwards at the same time. What I had forgotten about is the scenes with Steven Tobolowski are shot in black and white. And that's also what he does in Oppenheimer, is he has 2 temporalities. He has the color sequences and then the black and white sequences, which are from someone's different perspective. And then eventually they combine and you'll see scenes that you originally saw in black and white and color and vice versa.
It's in Following as well. He just doesn't do it with color. He does it with the length of the guy's hair. Short hair, long hair.
Yeah. Just I will not be telling a story from beginning to end, because that's not the point. Stories aren't to tell you what happened. Joe Pantoliano,
what are they?
Who plays?
If they're not to tell you what happened, what are they? To talk?
They're to tell you how it happened. They're to tell you to give you an experience.
Experience of wasting my time.
Joe Pantoliano, who plays Teddy, he said to Entertainment Weekly in 2001, he said, quote, "You could re-edit it to go forward. It's extremely linear, but backwards it becomes a why done it, not a who done it." End quote. So I really love that.
He had so much energy to this movie. To the Teddy character.
Love him.
He's so different from Lenny. Anyway, I mean, he always pops, that actor.
Christopher Nolan said in a 2001 interview, he said, quote, "I went off to write the screenplay, and my solution to telling the story subjectively was to deny the audience the same information that the protagonist is denied. And my approach to doing that was to effectively tell the story backwards. That way, when we meet a character, we don't know, just like the protagonist, how he's met that person, whether he's even met that person before, or whether or not they should be trusted, that kind of thing." End quote. So it's not just a gimmick. I didn't watch this movie when I was in high school because all the cool kids liked it. So I was very resistant to that. And I heard, it's a movie that goes backwards. And I thought, that's a lame gimmick. And no, it's an essential part of the movie. And there's a thematic necessity for the story you're watching.
Oh yeah, you go on such a roller coaster with the two people you get to know, including the fucking clerk at the hotel. I'm like, he's up to some shit too. I mean, anyone that interacts with him can't seem to help but fuck with him a little bit. Or it's not fuck with him, it's exploit him. They all seem to see some usefulness in him.
Yeah, it raises your awareness that like one of the load-bearing beams of just being a human is people are going to remember things. Now, we have a person in our life who's not good at remembering stuff, and when
I'm right here.
Not you. Okay. When I tell this, I get uncomfortable telling this person things because I know that they're getting auto-deleted as I tell this person those things.
Doesn't the version of the person that you're seeing right then deserve to know?
Yeah, I know, but it's always like, it's stupid. I feel embarrassed like in front of myself. Like, why am I even bothering telling you anything?
Because you're enriching their life in that moment.
I know.
And you're engaging in conversation with that person and they enjoy that.
Yeah, I know. So Nolan writes the script. His wife then sells it to New Market Films, which is an independent studio. They get a $4.5 million budget. But this is just a deal for production, no distribution. They're going to have to go find a distributor at film festivals. So Nolan is extremely influenced by Noir, and he's extremely influenced by two popular movies that had just come out, LA Confidential and The Matrix. And indeed, those two movies are where he gets his three main actors in this movie.
Was that Guy Pearce in LA Confidential?
Yes. But their target for the lead for Lenny is the most obvious person of all time.
And I would have eaten that shit up.
Yeah, of course.
Brad Pitt. Was he just about to be in Fight Club?
He would have already been in Fight Club. He passed. They decided we're going to go with lesser names, and so they end up with.
He's too stupid. He's like, I don't want to do that.
Huh?
I don't get that.
They end up with Guy Pearce, who had done LA Confidential 2 years earlier. Was this big up and coming name. When you look back now, you realize this is a guy who was positioned to be a big movie star, and it just never really happened. And instead, he's been a very interesting character actor, but one of those interesting character actors who has the movie star good looks. And that's kind of what makes them interesting.
Only he could have been an Avatar. Then he could have had that arc.
Yeah.
To that man.
Too bad.
Who was supposed to be a thing, and he only ever ended up was being the guy in Avatar.
I've changed. I don't.
No, you didn't change your mind. You still feel that way. He never happened.
No, he never happened. Of Sam Worthington. No, I now think he was cast because he's kind of anonymous. I don't think he was ever intended to be a movie star because that character's supposed to be anonymous. That character's supposed to be a replaceable cog. Indeed, Jake Sully is someone's twin brother. That's why he gets the role he gets.
I remember.
All right, Guy Pearce told Empire Magazine in 2020, quote, "I got to meet Chris, then I saw following, then I called him and I said, look, I'm really embarrassed to be doing this, but I hear people tend to respond to this sort of thing, so I'm just going to do it. I'm calling to tell you that I really love this and I'd really love to do it. If my enthusiasm plays any part in you making a decision about who you cast, then I'm just letting you know that I'm really keen. I was so in love with the script and so in love with the idea of doing it that I just felt I needed to express something. It's the only time I've ever done that."
Oh.
And Chris, in his typical non-committal fashion, wasn't going to gush at my attempt at flattery. He just went, "Oh, right. Okay, well, good to know. Thank you." End quote.
Ouch. Ouch.
Guy Pearce was 32 years old at the time, an
He
Australian
turned into
bloke.
a 5-year-old baby after that happened.
Nolan was a big fan of LA Confidential, and Guy Pearce got the part. So in that same interview, Guy goes on to say, quote, talking about why he loves Nolan, quote, not just because of how clever he was and how honest and humble he was, but how communicative he was about what he wanted to achieve and how he was going to achieve it through the technical channels, how he wanted to shoot it, but also equally adept at analyzing and breaking down the emotions of the characters, the moments within scenes, why he wanted to push in on a close-up at this moment, because he felt that that would actually trigger something that somebody saw in a scene 5 scenes ago. I was completely intimidated, completely inspired, completely enamored. I will take this to my grave. I feel so proud and pleased that I got to have that experience because that doesn't come along very often.
Not for you. Sorry.
He was great in the Brutalist. Got the Oscar nomination for that. He was so good in that.
I haven't seen it.
I've
Is
worked
that
with
about the kind of like art brutalism?
it's an architecture movie.
No.
I've worked with great people, Ridley Scott, Catherine Bigelow, Curtis Hanson, and they're all fantastic, wonderful people, but Chris is unique, a very special human being. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life, end quote. Everyone gushes about Christopher Nolan, the greatest person you've ever met, so interacts beautifully with everybody on the set, so smart.
Just
and
how generous, and maybe this is what his wife does for him, but like to be so open about, I mean, you and I have worked with people who have something in their head and they're almost withholding it to fuck with you, where it's like if they just shared their vision more fully or like walked you through what they were thinking, then you both could just get to the right thing faster. And for him to just like not think anything's obvious, not think any questions are stupid, not think anyone should have an innate ability to do anything, no assumptions, it's just here's the moment, I fully see this, I think you should do. That's so nice, like to just be spoon fed in a way, like here's how you're gonna get an Oscar nomination or whatever. Yeah, he sounds very patient and open and not hard to ask a question.
But maybe that knowing everything ahead of time is what turns people off and why they find him so clinical. For example, people point out all the dreams in Inception seem very much like not like dream, like everything's at like these right angles and stuff. Like there's no dream feeling to it. It doesn't feel like eerie dreams. Maybe that is a result of him just knowing, being calculated, figuring these things out ahead of time. It's not that that works for him, but maybe you lose some sort of improvisational magic that can come out in movies if somebody doesn't totally know what they're going to do ahead of time. I don't think it's always good to know every step of the story you want to tell ahead of time.
And to keep your actors in your box and not see what they could have come up with on their own. Sure. You were asking the question, why does he get this right? Why does it work out for him so often? I don't know who does this for him, but I think he's very canny at casting. I think he has a good eye for like who's about to pop or like a big enough name, but not like too much exposure or something. I don't know. It's just the idea to pick Christian Bale for Batman, it was so interesting to me. It's the only thing that made me want to watch it.
Gets good people at the exact right time. Which
That's
you
what
just
I'm
said.
saying. Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey in Interstellar, like at the height of his goodwill, everybody had toward him. Oh, I'd love to see Matthew McConaughey in a space movie. Yeah. And Cillian Murphy, who he'd worked with a bunch of times, was not a big movie star, but he says, you've always been supporting characters in my movies. You're going to be the lead in Oppenheimer. And he talked about being very intimidated by that, never being able, had never carried something like that on his shoulders, but Christopher Nolan knew he could handle it.
I want to say Skinny Lister, and I know that's a band. Isn't he in like network? Like he's in a show everyone likes, right?
Peaky Blinders.
That's Skinny Lister. That's the same
Skinny
fucking
Lister.
thing. Okay.
So The Matrix is the other big inspiration. That's how he finds Carrie-Anne Moss, like her in that movie. So let's cast her. And then she recommends Joe Pantoliano, who is her co-star in The Matrix,
and I guess
for the role of Teddy. And Lacey guessed that, and I gave her 1 star.
Oh.
I only had 1 to give. I'd give her 2 if I had 2.
Oh, okay.
So Memento was very well received on the film festival circuit. Ended up at Sundance in 2001, but nobody bought it. Joe Pantoliano said in 2001, like
nobody bought it to distribute it.
If you don't know this, like the actual point of a film festival is we screen films for potential buyers. Like these are movies that don't have
get out.
distributors yet. So come and watch them and we'll have an auction. Who wants Memento? No, $1, $1.
Okay. Okay.
Joe Pantoliano told Entertainment Weekly in 2001, quote, at the Independent Spirit Awards, I ran into Bill Block from Artisan and he said, oh my God, Memento, you were wonderful. And I said, thank you. You going to buy it? He says, no. Then I saw Russell Schwartz of USA Films. Russell said, Joey Pants, Memento, brilliant, baby. Thanks, Russell. You going to buy it? No. Next night, Harvey Weinstein, Joey Pants, Memento. You're fucking great. Thanks, Harv. You going to buy it? No.
Dodged a bullet.
So that was
Miramax would have been good.
That was the big one. Harvey passed on this. This is their bread and butter movies like this.
But Artisan also seem like they do edgy, weird movies.
You mean Artisan?
Artisan.
Yeah. Although Miramax had kind of at this point transitioned into making their own movies that were very boring and had lots of costumes and won lots of Oscars.
Had lots of costumes.
Yeah, lots of little people dress up as Shakespeare and chocolatiers and stuff.
Okay. Okay.
Versus the early 90s when they were finding cool independent movies and distributing them. So they passed, the festival ends without distribution.
Everyone dresses up in a movie. They have to wear
That's
clothes.
a good point, Lacey. They do wear costumes in movies. Every movie arguably has costumes.
I think so.
So Newmarket did the very financially risky move of distributing the movie itself. I guess if you don't know what this means, the company that paid to produce the movie is theoretically going to be a much smaller company than one of these big movie studios. So if it wants to distribute the movie itself, distribute means print it, send it to the movie theaters and advertise it, which is just as expensive as producing the movie itself, that they're going to have to come up with the money themselves. That's very risky. That's very difficult to do, but it paid off. It paid off big. Movie made $40 million at the box office and was a huge hit on DVD. And when you put the DVD in your DVD player, it made you solve a damn puzzle to watch the movie.
Are you human? Yes.
It was something, just fucking go backwards and forwards. DVDs were doing this at the time.
I actually remember that. I remember that kind of gimmick.
Yeah, no, the people are going to love this. They're not going to be mad at all that they can't just start watching the movie. That you have to play a fun little game.
Go to track 99 if you want to hear the rest of this album.
Oh, I love going to track 99 on Follow the Leader. It's the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just a fucking law in the late 90s that your hidden track is 35 minutes after in the same track as the last track of the album. That was great.
Gotta let it play.
To just hold down on your CD player. Folks, the 90s. We got to go back, though. It was the golden age of America.
We were using the tools we had.
That's Memento. We're going to be talking about Christopher Nolan all summer long, and we look forward to doing it with all of you. If you're watching on YouTube, please look in the description.
Nola.
That we're in New Orleans, Louisiana. Nola. And we're going to keep
near it. Nolan near Nola.
Do you want even more one-week rental in your life? We have a Patreon. It's only $1 a month at the moment because we don't update it very frequently. But we have new stuff right now. A brand new episode about 28 years later, The Bone Temple. And we're going to be doing some of the Nolan movies that we are not covering on the main feed, like Insomnia and Dunkirk. So patreon.com/1week rental, $1 a month for now. Prices will rise in the future.
So watch your back and save your money.
And it's not a lock your rate in now because you'll have to pay more too in the future.
We don't even believe in grandfathers.
So Memento, the guy shakes a Polaroid. Although, wait a minute, is he doing this backwards?
And is he doing this for way too long? And I'm losing focus.
It takes a minute before you realize he's going backwards.
Or that he's even moving at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, Polaroids are handy this way. You can't shake a regular photo and figure out backwardsness.
Right. And later there will be a thing where it transitions into, this is supposed to be your first clue. Okay, this is a backwards movie because it's because he's going backwards. But like a Polaroid, you shake it and it's black and white and then it comes into color.
He's got
that
one of them.
Also happens.
Yeah, he's got a broken Polaroid. He should take it to the store.
Yes, to Fox Photo.
It went, remember, drive through fucking get your film developed places?
Where else are you going to go if your photo breaks?
Right, if you have one of those undeveloping photos that start with a memory of your family when you buy it.
So we got a dead guy on the ground. It's Joey Pantoliano. And I don't know if we're supposed to know that's him or not.
I think so. I think they gave you. I knew the first time I watched it that he is the one who dies. I mean, that mustache is for a reason, right? The glasses, the mustache. They want you to remember that face.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't just
I
have
know
a
because I
mustache.
know Joey Pants is in the movie. And then we're just like, well, that's Joey Pants. So he's dead. Okay. I would like to know from Christopher Nolan and really all directors. I always want to know, how much are we supposed to have figured out when the movie starts?
Oh.
And how dumb are we supposed to be?
Okay, well, I did not know Joey Pants was in this movie, and I did know right away that he was dead. And you have face blindness, and I'm here to tell you, you put a guy in those glasses with that kind of real push brew mustache, you're trying to make sure people remember the face. Don't go all Lenny on you.
So he's dead, but then he's alive because Guy Pearce, talking to the hotel clerk, played by Mark Boone Jr., who will later show up in Batman Begins.
I know that face. I'm sure he's in a million things.
He was in Seven, and I think
That's
this movie
where I know that face.
owes a lot to Seven. It's
Sure.
playing in sort of the same sandbox of a spooky, gritty crime murder drama.
It's got a bit of a Brad Pitt going on.
Well, I mean, what do you think of Guy Pearce in this movie?
So here's the problem. Because I feel like he's kind of like this nonplussed kind of person. It also in Mayor of Eastwick, Mayor, yeah.
Easttown.
So I don't know if this casual like aloofness is the way he always is, or if this is part of the character. So I'm having a hard time because I don't know like if this is all character work, then this is good. But if this is kind of, he's always kind of like, huh? What are we gonna do? Whatever we gotta do. It's nothing personal. Like, I mean, he's just so kind of aloof. He's kind of light in a way. He's got like a nonchalance.
I think the performance improves when you see it again because
I think so too.
as long as you remember, the thing about this guy is he's an asshole.
Well, true. He's also incredibly sad and always anxious. He can never relax. It's impossible to be relaxed in this state. He's existing purely on mission.
Yes, but also false confidence. He's very confident in his system that, as we will see, is not a good system at all.
No. And in fact, part of his system is this regimented repeating of how good his system is. Like, that's what he's really learned to fold into his day to day is confidence enough to keep going.
And I think there is something to the idea that he was an insurance investigator who was so confident. I was good. I was very good. You look in someone's eye and I can tell if they're lying or not.
Well, right. And just such a weird thing for this insurance person to be giving medical opinion at all, or even like the authority to be like, let's run some tests. Like, okay, that his doctor didn't ask for. All right.
That's the extent the insurance agencies will go to not pay your claims. We will pay some very expensive theoretical memory doctors to electrocute this guy over and over and over again.
And then make conclusions on our own from these studies. Yep, they did what we wanted.
Yes, exactly.
That's all they're for.
But he's very confident that he always knew when people were lying to him. But even then we see that's not true. You were totally wrong about Steven Tobolowski.
Right. Well, and he says as much. Yeah. He's like, now I understand. You got to fake it. You can't know until you're in the situation, but just to not feel so incredibly uncomfortable in your skin 100% of the time, you've got to mask it. He did register as way sad. At the first watching, I'm sad for him middle way, but very sad for him at the end. And with the knowledge of it going in a second time, I'm definitely picking up on the sadness more. Not that he wasn't sad all along, but like the story jumps around. So you're like, oh, they're jumping to a sad time. Oh, now a confident time. Now he's in control of time. But like, I'm under the impression, because of the Tarantino of it all, that this is a man completely in control and he knows exactly what he's going to do. And people aren't going to fool him because he's got his little mementos and he knows his own handwriting and he's got a system. And it's like, it takes 2/3 of the movie for you to really see that falling apart the first time, but it's all there from the beginning. You just don't know that to look for it because it's not the right tone.
So now that you've watched it twice, do you feel like you have a handle on everything that happens? Like, could you put the story in chronological order?
I think I could, but I don't know if it matters because what I'm still not sure of is like the chicken or the egg was Natalie a bad person, and so Teddy was truly like trying to let her know about, hey, this chick Natalie's no good, or is Teddy also kind of a shit person, and Natalie was kind of like, I mean, Natalie seems fully to be using him, and that's it, but I can't tell that Teddy's good. I cannot understand Teddy's motivation at all, except for that he just wants to get into some hijinks, and he thinks that this person's broken in a fun way. Let's go set up people to die. You're going to kill them. I'm not going to be in trouble. I just get to watch you kill random people.
I think Teddy is, Pantoliano's playing him as someone who has successfully lied to himself that he's helping this guy.
But what? Like, do you have no family? You have no people? This is what you want to do for the rest of your life until this kid dies?
He's a scumbag. I don't know.
Well, thank you. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a scumbagness about him, even if most of the movie, if not all of it, he's telling the truth. And the lies he's telling are ones to, like, you know, give Lenny whatever piece he's patched for himself. It's not a fun movie. I don't like it leaves me with that sad feeling that so many Nolan movies leave me with, is just like, yeah, being a human's hard. We're all broken. Some of us are more broken than others, so we pick on them. Some of us are more lost and more longing than others, so we like pity them. And at the end, you're just like, all right, I'll go on with my day then.
What he would go on to be better at is making that still be a fun experience to watch. And I just remember Memento being a more fun movie.
And I was prepared. Just the fucking cover art alone, and the and I can remember the trailer. I was like, that looks fucking cool. Like very Usual Suspects. Very like, oh my god, I'm gonna piece this shit together. I'm gonna be smart with this guy. And like, no, you get dumber. He gets sadder. It's just not the trajectory you're used to. I mean, you're used to the anti-hero or the hero like getting banged up and going through some shit, but like not completely unwinding. I guess like the way the movie is styled, I didn't see it coming. I didn't see like total crash and burn and ugh.
He does have a sort of conventional movie arc where he takes control at the end. It's just that the end is the beginning, where he decides to finally make a change. I will now target Joey Pantoliano instead of just following him around on our missions and reset.
Well, yeah, now that guy's gone, but Natalie's still around. So it's like a different bad guy just takes him over. At least Teddy was like a chaperone to him in a sense, and like he was under his wing. Now he's fucking left Lenny in the dragon's claw of Natalie, who is hot as shit and who is very convincing and very manipulating. So he'll wake up sometimes and be in good Natalie, and we get to have sex right now. And then the other times it'll be sad Natalie, and the other times it'll be, why are you calling me the R word, Natalie?
Yeah, it's not that it's going to be better, but he did make a change. He finally decided, I'm going to get rid of one toxic person. Maybe I'll just end up with another toxic person, and
you should just kill himself.
My fate.
I would just kill myself.
On our Severance recap podcast,
sorry,
Lumen is listening. Unalive myself.
I just don't mean to be so flippant about that. That is not an easy decision for anyone to make, and anyone that's dealt with that kind of topic. That's not a. I shouldn't just say that so dismissively. Like, it's a solution, because it's not. We all have this like drive to live, even if our lives are bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna, as I've said many times, I'm clinging to whatever shitty life I got for as long as it'll take me.
And I'm gonna give you so much tape.
Thank you.
To cling.
That's nice. Oh, that's so nice of you to say.
Yeah, but I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna give you the roll of tape. I'm gonna leave.
No, I thought you'd hang around and let me give you shots and stuff, because that's my kink, as we learned.
We did learn that
in the Severance show, but it was in the Severance show that we sort of debated this idea, or discussed this idea of a question as old as time is what makes a person. Is it a collection of our memories? Well, if somebody loses their memories, are they no longer the person?
You cling to whatever you have, and if you're lucky enough to have the body without the memories, then you cling to that. And if you're lucky to have memories without a body, you cling to that. And I don't think anyone knows the answer until they get there, because all the other situation or the other things surrounding that person's life, by the time they need to make those choices, are going to help determine it.
I was grateful to Christopher Nolan for just choosing to tell the story backwards rather than jumbling up everything and just totally shuffling the deck, and no scene, you can never tell which scenes follow the other, which would be a more accurate representation of how he feels, how he experiences life.
True.
But I think that tells you right there that Nolan is aiming for a popular audience. So this is an unusual narrative structure, but it is a narrative you can follow. And I think a more artsy director would say, like, no, you're never going to know where you are in time. You're just going to be hopping the fuck around.
Catch up on your third watch, bitch.
Joey Pants, there was a Bound 30 anniversary panel that just happened. So look at these nice people.
Aww.
Gina Gershon.
Oh, yes. Is that Lily Wachowski?
Lily Wachowski, Joey Pants, and Jennifer Tilly all getting together celebrating
Jennifer
Bound.
Tilly, you fucking minx. Never looked better.
What about Gina Gershon, though? Those glasses? How fun would it be to hang out with Joey Pants? Look at him.
Look at him. Look at that little
hat.
smile.
Yep.
Look at Lily. She's like, what are you going to do with this guy? He's always cracking pants. You can just tell him that's what you call it. He's cracking his pants wise.
Nope.
Yeah, he is.
So
wise pants. That's what you call him.
Wise Pants.
He's Wise
Here
Pants.
Here comes Wise Pants.
Uh-oh. Pants are on fire. I thought I'd come with something, and I didn't. All right.
Black and white sequences are like, these are the objective sequences. These are less from Leonard's point of view, whereas the color sequences are from Leonard's points of view. And he's talking on the phone and he's explaining his methods. It's like David Fincher's The Killer. I've got a system. I'm the most regimented, competent man in the world. Very quickly in The Killer, you see, no, you're not, but it takes a while in Memento to see that. No, you're not.
It's interesting. It's these black and white parts we're using. Okay, I'm gonna say nighttime Laci, daytime Laci, as if those two those are two separate people. We're using black and white Lenny as the narrator to his own fucked up life because he doesn't know what we're gonna do with this footage. But they say he says something kind of key about Jimmy and Sammy are the same word to me. Sammy, what? It doesn't matter. Jamie Jenkins is that he could do something very complicated as long as he was focused. And there's something about telling all the things that he can remember about this, being on this phone call, that keeps him focused. Because if you think about it, this is a very long phone call. This is way too long for him to have stayed like understanding who he's talking to. He gets off the phone. He says, hold on, let me go look at something. Gets back on. Hey. And then whenever the person's like, they got to go, he's like, okay, but you call me back. Like he doesn't like the phone. He's not a phone person, but this motivates him. So you kind of get to see what his life would be like if he could choose to stay this engaged with his life all the time. Yeah,
and when you watch the movie multiple times, you realize he violates his own rules, or at least the things he says about how his memory works a lot. So
yeah, he doesn't even know. He doesn't remember how his memory works. Yeah.
So yeah, he can seem to follow this complicated set of things for an extended period of time.
He can remember the things he's regimented to remember. And those things are hard to commit to memory at all. Like, I have 6 pockets. That means something. This is on, like, how this hurts. I guess I got something tattooed to me. I know I have a big giant file of everything about my wife's case, but I don't have that tattooed to me anywhere. I just know I have it. He does seem to remember a lot.
So he goes to Mark Boone Jr., who runs the hotel. He's like, hey, I'm sorry, I have this condition. And Mark Boone Jr. acts like they haven't had the conversation, then reveals, no, we have this conversation all the time, and asks him, what is it like? What is it like to have that condition? And he says, it's like waking up. It's like waking up. Great.
Okay, Matrix.
I was reading about anterograde memory loss on Wikipedia, so I'm like a real expert. And it seems like the movie does get it all very much in line with the reality. Even the thing about you can there's a part of your brain that creates what's called procedural memory, and Sammy Jenkins, Steven Tobolowski, should have been able to create that by doing the experiment with the electrified objects, but he couldn't.
So he's dumb.
So the seed of doubt that this is a psychological condition, that his brain wasn't actually damaged, therefore claim denied. But it's all just playing with what makes a person, and are we even correct about that? You would think that what defines Lenny is his devotion to his wife and his quest for vengeance, but as we find out at the end of the movie, he's wrong about both of those things. He already got the vengeance, and he's incorrect about his wife even having been killed.
Yeah, the vengeance is for his anger about what it did to his life. It's not about the you killed and raped my wife. It's for him. He's doing this for him. And maybe he can't remember actually ever killing the guy because it was never actually for the thing he said it was for. I think this movie is also about like invisible disabilities. You know, there's that, you know, the idea of like struggling with something when looking like a handsome, capable young person. And also what little would it take to make me vulnerable like this? And what if I got dementia? I mean, it's kind of like how fragile even someone like he looks perfect, but
yeah, so it's not like the world will naturally accommodate him because he looks extremely capable in the prime of his life.
It's almost worse because there's this expectation from him, and then he doesn't know if a woman's looking at him a certain way across the bar because she's flirting with him or because they had the deepest conversation 2 days ago. It's gotta feel so. Hey, it's like always seeing your teacher outside of school and not being able to place who the fuck this is in your life, but you know her. Sarah!
Or
Teacher Sarah!
If you're like me and sometimes have difficulty hearing somebody and you just don't feel like getting them to repeat, so you're just like, yeah.
And then he has the fucking nerve to get mad whenever I'm like, did you actually just hear me?
I'm not talking about you.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm not talking about yours and my reactions. You're ableist toward me. We'll talk about that in the future.
Okay.
But that also points to him being a shitty insurance
faking
investigator.
your condition.
That he didn't even know that when he was the world's ace insurance investigator, that sign of recognition he saw in Tobolowski was just, this guy's being polite. He sees me and he smiles because that's what you do when you see anybody. Well, when you feel like you don't know anything.
This also... No, when you feel like you want to fit in with the situation and you know enough to know you don't fit in. It's the most heartbreaking parts are when he's trying so hard to do what his wife is asking him to do and he just says, I did it wrong? Yes, you did it wrong. Or I messed up. Yes, you messed, those parts, because that is the experience of certain disabilities. You very much know you're fucking up. And anyway, I think this movie is dealing with that too, in how he's like, now that I have this disability, I do see how this, masking's a fucking thing. It's just because you are a cis white man, you've never had to do it before. We mask for all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
A Christian mask. Just depends on who we're
Sure, yes.
No, praise Jesus. Mm-hmm,
yeah, let us pray.
Yeah, no,
Sometimes I'll tell people, let us pray. We'll get down on our knees. I'm Chris masking. He goes to a diner, sees Carrie-Anne Moss as Natalie. She has information for him. She traced a license plate number for him. It's John Gamble. Oh, that's Teddy. Okay.
Okay, so it's very smart for them to play her the way that they do because you can tell she's got this look of like expecting in her eyes toward him, and on a second watch, you're like, oh, you're just kind of an asshole. Like you're always kind of an asshole to him, but because I'm a woman, so I'm like, oh, I'll bet they slept together and I bet she feels jilted. Okay, girlfriend, I get it. So like you're dismissing the way that she's acting because like it would suck if you have like a nice night with somebody and they truly don't remember you and you thought you'd be the one. So it's like the whole time she's being very, I don't know if curt's the right word, but she's not a sweetie.
She's not, but I think that she is playing it as if you're viewing this actually chronologically, that at this point she does have more sympathy for him.
You think?
Yeah. She still is using him. It's still a very evil thing that she's doing, but I think she does have more pity on him than she did earlier. But what does that matter? Nothing. Just anyone would have pity on him. Anyone would start to feel bad for him. But I still can't piece together. She has nothing to do with Teddy. This is just
But they seem to know of each other because they both warn each other of each other.
But these sort of worlds like intersected by accident.
Oh, absolutely, because you don't know how new they are to this town. They don't seem to stay in one place for very long. So getting to know anyone for very long seems hard. And it's like, I do not get it. What is the system? Do we just let fucking Lenny lead the way, or does Teddy like drop little clues like, here's kind of a scumbag, let's pretend he's John G. Let's see if I can get him to kill him.
How much leash does Teddy give him? Or is Teddy always just in the next room and then walking in and being like, oh, hey, Lenny?
Yeah, maybe, but then how the fuck does Natalie get so much access for so long, if that's true? Also, again, what are we doing? I don't. Why are we doing this?
Some sort of bounty hunting, drug deal stealing.
I guess he's trying to get the loot along the way. This time I'll get the drugs. This time I'll get some money. Next time we'll boost that car. I guess that's. Fucking Teddy just doesn't have a lot going on at home.
To me, my favorite part of the movie's always been the Tobolowski parts. It's always the stuff I remember the most vividly, and I think he's really, really good. It's like you said, especially when his wife is telling him he fucked up. He's like, I did bad.
She's really good.
She's really good too. And then I always forget what the actual twist is. Like, wait a minute, is he actually Guy Pearce? Is Guy Pearce actually him?
Right, he does exist.
He does exist.
But he wasn't married.
Right.
So.
And Guy Pearce just inserted himself into.
No.
Or inserted Sammy into his own life to take the part of the thing that he did.
Or exhumed his wife out of his life and put it in Sammy's and just let all the abuse happen to Sammy Jenkins instead of him.
It says he can't watch TV. He gets too confused, but he likes the commercials.
Which makes me so sad because that just sounds like a little old man with dementia. Oh my God, your tattoos, they're freaky. Oh, this one, what about above your nipple? I don't have anything there. And what is this? Come here, let's look in the mirror together. Oh my God, it says murder and rape.
Well,
let's bone.
Okay, it's interesting that she asks him to tell me about your wife, and he's like, well, she was beautiful, and she was an angel. And Carrie-Anne Moss is like, well, can you like tell me something real or like specific about her? Can you actually remember her? And he just kind of proceeds to, well, I remember the feeling of the whatever. And I do kind of feel like this is Christopher Nolan has always been criticized for not being able to write female characters. All of his lead characters are men who either their wives are dead. The only thing we know about their wives is that their wives were fucking angels. And so it's like, it's almost kind of like Tim Burton. Like he can't seem to imagine a woman in any other role than an uncomplicated angel who is dead. And I'm very, very sad. And so it's interesting that right here in his first real movie with a budget, you have a female character being like, Chris, can you like say something actually though?
Okay, but he's writing for that female too.
Yeah, I know. So I think in a way, this is kind of his
admitting,
but also maybe his best female character right in the very beginning of his career. Because she was aware that he seems incapable of imagining a woman who's a real person. Well,
also, like you say, you were so in love with her. You're not able to replace her. But that, I mean, the real truth is, well, you already made those memories, so you literally can't replace. I'm not going to be able to reset with anyone else. So she's all I got. And if you're interested in him sexually, I could see that being very frustrating. But it's like her trying to prove. What were you in love with? What do you even like in a woman? Do you even know? You just tell me you smell her brush and she read a book and you guys were kind of shitty to each other and you pinched and it's just like, can you nail down what you actually saw in her except for that you feel lost that she's gone?
Yeah, and that continues to pain you and that sometimes you wake up and feel confused because you feel her there, but you'll wait for her to come back from the bathroom and then don't know how long you've been waiting. And it's like losing her over and over and over and over again.
Which is dementia. When my peepaw got dementia, his brother died after that. So, every couple weeks, my mom or sisters would had to tell peepaw again and he'd cry again. And
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was bad. She said sometimes they just lie because it was easier.
Oh, I would,
yeah.
So this thing, she's setting him on the path of Dodd, of the mysterious Dodd.
Who is a non-character in this movie.
But he's played by Callum Keith Rennie in a non-Canadian movie, which I thought was illegal, but here he is.
I don't know Canadian laws, so.
I think the thing is, this is just some sort of drug associate who she had to. She's in cahoots with Jimmy, her boyfriend, who's a big drug guy over here. And Dodd is either an associate or a rival. So Lenny, go get Dodd, and he does get Dodd by saying, "Get out of town, Dodd."
Get out of Dodge Town.
Yeah, and that's all it takes.
I'm so crazy that I kicked your ass and don't remember kicking your ass. Isn't that wild? Ah! Like that's literally what he did to scare him. You did this. Oh, did I? Ah! That's it. Mind freak.
When he's telling her about the thing about his wife waking up in bed, forgetting that his wife is dead, wondering if she's coming back from the bathroom. I wrote in my notes to psychoanalyze Nolan. I think that an obsessive person who like gets lost in his projects, he probably does have this fear that like, oh, my actual life is happening parallel to me. I'm missing all of it. And he will come back to this theme over and over and over again, but sort of having to be reminded, hey, here's what you're missing, by the way. Here's what you're missing while you're...
And the waking up in an anonymous hotel room, right? Like, it's all right here. It's like, oh, not another hotel room. Have I been here a week, a month? You know, just the process of shooting a movie just goes and goes and goes. And you just get sick of that same old meaningless hotel room you're in.
But his wife has always been with him the entire time in every single movie. It would be like one thing if you learned his wife didn't make the first couple of movies with him, and then he realized, no, you need to always be with me, please.
Maybe he had a mistress he was very in love with, and it was just all about her.
It's all about someone else.
I never get to see Marie.
The thing where he wakes up, he wakes up or just comes to awareness in the bathroom holding a bottle of liquor. I don't feel drunk.
And then I wonder to myself, that's the only thing I'd ever want to do. And like, does he and then there's this one where he has this huge yawn and I'm like, okay, let me pay attention for him not getting to sleep the night before. And I guess he doesn't because he spends it doing a hobo fire and burning stuff. But like, this timeline is so confusing. Not the one in the movie, but the one from when he stops being around his wife. Does she does eventually die? He does kill her with the insulin. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But like he's still got her stuff. He's still sleeping in their house. No one's watching him. He's just alone. This man with this condition is just left alone after she's gone. That seems illegal. And so he starts traveling to hotel rooms because it's too sad waking up there and realizing it over and over again. Okay, but when did you start waking up and realizing that she's gone and not...
I thought he was traveling. He's never in his home, that he's traveling to hotel rooms with his wife's stuff.
He is after the time we see him waking up there by himself. That's when he decides to go. It's further in the movie because it's, the beginning. He's still got on his other clothes. But it's just, is it useless to dig in like it is for a time travel movie to dig in because it's not the point? But how did he, I guess because his wife abusing him were new memories. So you really can do anything to him, including the horrible shit that she did, even though she was, also just terribly upset. But he did choose to remember it through Jimmy.
Through Sammy, yeah.
Through Sammy. So it's almost like he wants to remember that there was a wife like that he's lucky that didn't happen. And don't use your old notes system because that's going to keep happening to you. You're going to get slapped around and get abused by the people who love you even. So we need a new system. Remember Sammy. And it's a warning to not be like his old self. Not really anything to do with Sammy. It's don't be like you were when you first got this condition. That made you kill your wife and made her super hate you. And she loved you more than anybody. So you're fucked, my guy.
It never occurred to me that is a new memory.
I think I would need to watch it again and really dissect the things, really listen carefully to the things he said. Sammy didn't know. Sammy did this. You shouldn't do it like this. Then I can know he has regimented himself into finding a way to remember those new things because he folded it into his memories of Sammy. And he talks about Sammy to everyone that'll listen. And he will even makes it a point every day to remember Sammy's story. So it's like he didn't want to totally forget his wife. And this was his way of putting it into someone else's story so he didn't have to feel horrible for a second thing while still remembering the things he learned. And like his motivation for being different than Sammy. AKA his old self.
I'm looking forward to you watching Inception because there's so much that it has in common with that, with Leonardo DiCaprio and his wife Marion Cotillard, and the dreams as ways of him processing what they did to each other and like what he can't acknowledge having done to her and what he can't acknowledge her having done to him.
What does that remind me of? Minority Report? What's the one where you can put in something and then like the whole hologram pops up and it's like you're there with them?
That's Minority Report.
Yeah. I feel like that also was... Well, I mean, in any relationship, if you were married and they die, I'll bet you think about all the time all the things you did wrong. Just as much as the good things.
Well, then the same year that Inception came out, Shutter Island also came out with Leonardo
That's fucking
DiCaprio,
confusing.
which is dealing with a lot of similar plots. And I think
Which one has a beach? Both.
they both have beaches. They do both have beaches.
But him trying to run after her on a beach, or he's getting off of an elevator. And
That's Inception.
Okay.
But in Shutter Island, spoiler alert for Shutter Island, Leonardo DiCaprio's character is either schizophrenic or has delusions, and they're trying to cure him of it by playing along with his fantasies. And that I feel like is kind of what Joey Pants thinks he is doing, is I can help him.
Right.
Or that's what he originally thought.
Yeah.
I'll help him by helping him get his revenge, and that'll cure him, I guess, kind of.
But so it's got to be exhausting spending any time with him. And if you're not staying in touch at least once a day with him, he will just run off to another town. So it's like Joey Pants got him on this mission. He's responsible for him in that way, because now this man's just wandering the earth instead of in a fucking facility. So I'm thinking of co-parenting, and it's a toddler, and so okay, let him spend a couple nights at Natalie's house. That'll actually help me out, because it's Natalie could rally and figure out how to settle him down. It's hard for him to settle him down and just make him chill. Let's talk about something that's not going to be totally boring for me, but you're really hyper, and are we going to get to bed? And it is just taking care of a baby. And so who would do that voluntarily? Who would want to do that every single day? So it's Teddy just
what he says
let a genie come out the bottle, and he's like, fuck it, I might as well get some shit out of it. Money, a car.
His justification at the end is, you're not a killer, that's why you're so good at it. So I guess his utility to Joey Pants is that this guy kills lots of people, and he's the perfect stool pigeon, because no one can ever trace it back to him.
And even if he ever got caught, they'd see right away he's not faking this, so he'd get let off. Or he wouldn't, and that'd be great, because he wouldn't remember me.
And maybe their early missions together, Teddy is always with Lenny, and now we've seen them so far into it, and he's like, just let him go.
No, but that's what I'm saying. You would have to. He's got a car. He can drive. And if he's got a fucking post-it note saying Detroit, he's fucking gone. And you're like, what? I didn't put a tag on him or nothing. Now he's gone, and now it's my fault that this man is wandering Detroit. I think there's a part of Teddy that is like, I am your chaperone. I didn't necessarily want to do this. I thought I did, but this is a lot of work. He even says, he's like, I've had more rewarding friendships, and I think he means it. This is fucking exhausting. Yeah. I always have to sneak up on you and convince you that you know me.
You know how they say dogs experience time differently. Mm-hmm. When our dog will be in the front yard in the morning, and I will get our son into the car and just drive to the bus stop, which is 30 seconds away.
Right.
Put the kid on the bus, return. I'm not gone for more than 3 minutes. And the dog goes exactly as nuts to see me as if I were gone for 48 hours.
Right. Oh, you're home. Oh, I never thought you'd come back.
And while that may sound sweet, every time I'm annoyed, I'm like, stupid dog. I was just here. We just saw each other.
Oh, yeah. You would get mad at Lenny constantly.
I would be mad at him. Of course
you would. I mean, this is definitely a commentary on elder care. Or, imagine it's Lenny plus you have to change his shit diaper. This is why elderly with dementia and stuff get taken advantage of, get abused, because they forget.
Yeah, it's just and Mark Boone Jr. says it what do you expect? My boss told me to take advantage of you. We're going to not take advantage of you? You're not even going to remember me telling you this.
Anyone he has an interaction with for long enough is just trying to see what they can get out of him. And if he looks like he's got money. He's getting out of a Lamborghini or whatever kind of car that is. He's in that suit. And again, he looks capable. He's all beat up. So it's ooh, he can use his hands. He just looks like he's walking around with money. And it's well, if I just hang around long enough, he'll forget. Put his pants down. I don't know. I'll get that money.
You got the flashback where his wife is reading her favorite book. I don't remember what the book is.
They don't want you to know. They take the cover page off.
They don't tell you? Okay.
No. Yeah. Because then you'd have to analyze too much. What does that mean about her? That she'd read that book over and over and over again. That it specifically has the cover off of it, so you don't have to think about that at all.
Okay, so it's James Patterson's Pop Goes the Weasel, but he's like, you've read that book 1,000 times.
The book with no words.
And she's like, yeah, but I enjoy it. And he says, I thought the point was to find out what happens, which I think is, you can read as a meta commentary. Nolan didn't know how people would react to his movies over the course of his career. But I think he would say,
my movies are meant to be read over and over and over again.
Well, yeah, I mean, he definitely wants that, but
it's happening.
The point of a novel is not the point of a novel. The point of a movie is not to get information, is to have an experience.
Yeah, right.
So knowing what happens doesn't mean you don't continue to enjoy it.
The ride, right. Yeah, and she's in bed. So like it's her, the way I have nighttime shows, she has a nighttime book.
Mm-hmm.
She's reading herself something calming and soothing where she knows what's happening. It's just that is the key to a nighttime show or movie, everybody. It's got to be entertaining enough to sustain you while you're awake, and you got to know it well enough to let it go when you're drifting.
Yeah, but it's
nighttime book.
That okay, yes. That is a nighttime book, but
it's literally what you do with children.
It doesn't have to be a comfort book that you can reread tons of books.
No one fucking said it had to be comfort.
All right.
It just can't be so intriguing that no, Matt, you're wrong. You do not treat your insomnia correctly when you're reading something new. You shouldn't be doing that. You do that all the time, and you shouldn't be, because then you're anticipating the things that you don't know. That's not helping your mind relax.
Nothing better than when I can't go to sleep and just finding a great Wikipedia page. Ugh, knock you right out.
All right, maybe find a Wikipedia, but like
what do sometimes you think I'm doing?
Who knows? Watching porn letters.
So you wake up in the middle of the night and I have my iPad out. I should be asleep. Are you ever taking in what's on the iPad?
No, I can't see.
Yeah, I know. So what?
Unless this is a map judgment? And you're doing this, I'm like, oh, he's on a map.
I can do it. Yeah, but it's a map of Westeros. I do read the Game of Thrones and the Star Wars Wikipedias, the Wikias, the fan wikis. Like, oh, let me learn about this fictional character. If I ever can't sleep, it's just very soothing.
Mainly, I wake up and find you like this, with your face just illuminated by the iPad that's still right here, and I'm like, don't let it fall on his face.
Oh, sometimes it does.
Well, because I know if I take it off, that'll wake you up. So it's like, it's just got to happen.
If I have my CPAP on, you can do it, because I'll go right back to sleep. He does a thing where he pays the sex worker to pretend to be his. Can you just like lay out these things like you're a woman? Where do women put their brassieres?
Because he thinks anything can be done by this method. If I just go through over and over and over again this thing where if I get woken up in the middle of the night, it's not my wife in the bathroom. It's not my wife. It might be nothing at all. It might be an escort, but like stop waking up in the middle of the night and like getting excited or getting confused and then sad again. Like as long as I can condition myself to knowing whatever it is, it might be a person taking a shit that I don't know. It might be someone with a knife, but at least it's not me thinking my wife is still around and having to remember she's not.
So you don't think this is like the thing where somebody dies and you call their phone to hear their voicemail?
No, this is the opposite.
This is the opposite.
This is the opposite. He is trying to condition himself to be like, this brush does not mean my wife. This bra doesn't mean my wife. Even if all of her stuff is in it, because he wants to go back and live in his house, right? So like if I wake up and I'm surrounded by her things, it still doesn't mean she's alive. Like I need to remember this. I need her. The most uncomfortable thing needs to be behind this bathroom door, so I start to remember bathroom door bad.
Because
but
burning her.
When you think about it, bathroom door is bad because of what happened to her in the bathroom.
Yeah, and what happens every day.
Number 2.
So burning her stuff isn't working. He thinks if I just burn all traces of her, then she's gone, and then I can truly move on. But it's not working at all.
No, I mean he just needs to move. But when you can't remember anything, how the fuck do you deal with the real estate agent? Like, hey, do you like that condo I showed you? Who is this?
Now we see more of Natalie, and her darker side seems to come out when she realizes how she can manipulate Lenny. And I think the most harrowing scene in the movie is when she tells him, like, you're a fucking idiot and I'm going to take total advantage of you and you're stupid. And
I wish she said idiot.
Yeah, I know. And you won't remember what I'm even saying right now, you dumb bitch.
He looks so hurt and scared. Can you imagine, though, if this role were played by a woman, if this were written, like, they'd never let it. America could not tolerate a woman having this kind of vulnerability, because women already are vulnerable. It's just like it would be an impossible thing to even fathom.
and he's looking desperately for a pen to just write down.
It's
Don't
so
trust her.
sad. And she takes all, and when she's taking all the pens off the desk, you're like, Natalie Elizabeth, what are you doing? You're up to no good. I'm about to tell you things you're going to want to write down. And you can't write them down. What if he just like stabbed himself with something and just starts writing in the blood? Natalie mean!
What does Natalie mean though? It could mean a lot of things.
Natalie mean to me.
I see her moving the pens and I just think women love to like rearrange stuff. That's just a thing they love to do.
Love it. This is the saddest scene. I mean, I didn't want to believe she was mean. Look how pretty she is. Why is she being so mean?
Because her whole arc is she's the girlfriend of Jimmy. Jimmy's the drug dealer. She helps him by running drugs out of this bar and uses the bar coasters as like a message thing.
Yeah. What I don't totally grasp, even after watching it twice, is does she like Jimmy? Is she sad he's gone? Because the part where she walks up to his car and inside of his car is the guy that killed him, she's so, oh, hey. She's not sad at all. She's not even confused or like.
The first thing she's scared. The first thing she is scared, which she plays, which Carrie-Anne Moss plays when she sees that it's not Jimmy and knows, oh fuck, this means something huge.
Okay.
And so she immediately is like, oh, okay, sorry.
Okay.
Because she sees Guy Pearce pull up in her boyfriend's car in her boyfriend's clothes.
Yeah.
And she doesn't, and
she's wearing a Leonard suit.
So this is a fucking psychopath who has just killed my boyfriend and taken his place.
You like my suit? Hey, why did she initially spit in his beer?
So he goes into the bar and she's like, hey, man who took my boyfriend's place, we're not welcome in this bar.
You're going to get spit in your beer. That's how upset I am. You killed him, you mean man.
But she has heard, her boyfriend has said, hey, there's a guy in town who can't remember anything. That's funny.
If I heard that, I'd be like, is he alone? Should he go home and not be just driving? Should he be driving? What if he forgets he's at a light? Also, why are you telling me this? Why do you know this? And someone needs to put him away safely, and I'll never think of him again.
But we don't live in Lacey's world. We live in Crime City, where this movie is.
Oh yeah, one of them rare Pokemon with the kind where you shake them and they don't remember. You can say all kinds of shit.
No, exactly. It's like the city in Saw. It's just Crime City, USA.
Purge. It's like say the meanest shit you've ever wanted to say to a living human, and then in 3 seconds it's gone.
Yeah.
This is our meanie night.
But she does the spit thing to test, is this real? And yeah. And it's the most, this is actually the most harrowing thing for me.
Because she gets him to just spit as well. It's for a bet or whatever. Okay, all right. I was like, wait, she's so mad that he killed her boyfriend that she spit in his beer. That'll get him, Natalie. It's unrelated.
And gets the gross guy at the bar to also spit into the drink.
He's just a fucking guy, Matt.
He spits, so that makes him gross. Okay. I think spit is so gross.
It is worse than any other bodily fluid. I can take shit over spit.
I drink shit. Give it to me.
Give me a second.
And this is the second movie in a row where someone has spit in a drink. And I always have to look away.
But I can taste it.
Yeah, me too.
I can feel it go down my throat.
Because of the thing that happened to me in 2018.
No. I don't want to. What? I don't even know what it is.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
And I do not reinstall this memory. I don't know what you're about to say, and I don't care. I want to talk about the movie. Don't you tell a story.
We were at a tennis event.
Oh, I remember. I remember.
And I thought I picked up a red Solo cup of what I thought was my water.
You were wrong.
And instead it was a cup that someone had spit their gum into.
And I think anyone who's listened to this podcast 3 different episodes would know Matt hates gum.
It's still the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
It was not a red Solo cup, Matt. It was a clear one. No, this is important, you cock-sucking fool. It was a clear one because I saw the green piece of gum at the bottom of the clear cup. And I said, Matt, put the drink down. And then you pulled it away and realized why.
It being green makes it worse.
It was mint gum. Ah! We have a sleeping child.
You wake him up to tell him about this.
Jimmy is such a non-fucking character. Who is this fucking loser? That looks like a guy. That looks like a guy that's on top of the world in this random city.
But I mean, he is just a guy, and
He's just some fucking schlub.
And there will always be a guy in a city. And Teddy's whole thing is, it's always a John G. You know how many fucking John G's? And it's not even John G. It's either John G or James G. So that's half of all men.
Right.
And he's like, Teddy, Lenny, even my name is John G. I'm John Edward Gamble. You know, my mom calls me Teddy. And so, yeah, it doesn't matter. There will always just be a fucking guy who's a scumbag in a town that you can kill. And I mean, the most interesting thing to me about the movie is now this revelation about their relationship, about how he was the cop who believed him when he and his wife were assaulted in their homes.
Mm-hmm.
And even this is like Christopher Nolan, sort of like the only kind of crime he can imagine is some thugs came into my house and beat me and my wife.
Like the most elaborate daytime thing ever. I'm going to wrestle her down. Well, I know there's a man in the house. I'm going to wrestle her down onto the floor and put the shower curtain on top. It's clear. So I get to watch her struggle. And I'm just going to, while she's struggling like that. It is so elaborate and unthought through.
And
I snuck into
when
the
we
bathroom
get into
window.
Batman Begins, I think his ideas about crime are the things that I find are the things that put me off of his Batman movies more than anything, and we will talk in depth about
two
that.
Crimes been murder.
But yeah, his idea about crime is so like baby brained. But
Murder and divorce.
I like his Batman movies, but he wants you to treat them seriously. But his ideas about crime are so. His ideas about crime are some thugs break into your house, like, oh, hey, where's your wife, huh?
Yeah, I mean, okay, but to be fair, the like background thug story or whatever, that the thing that's haunting. I remember the movies enough to know who that happens to, but like it's always seemed pretty cartoony how at least Batman's parents die. It's just like, we're in an alley, we've been shot.
Yeah, I know. But the conceit of his Batman movies is like, we'll take all that cartoon stuff and make it real. And what I say is,
what if your mom were a woman?
What I say is, no, don't do that. That's stupid. He and his wife were assaulted. The cops only found one guy, but there were two guys, and the cops didn't believe him because he was suffering the memory loss.
He's like, but I can remember things after the accident. This happened before.
And
oh, that's so funny, because you know what happened after the accident? She went like this and was alive. To him, she was dead.
But she didn't die there. That's the big revelation. She didn't die. She kept living, and she was the...
He is right, like that right. He stopped recording, right, with the shocker.
And Teddy, Joe Pantoliano, believed him. I believe there was a second guy. I want to help you. I will go beyond the mandate of my job to help you find this guy, while his wife is simultaneously trying to bring him back.
Right. Wait, what do you do if the last recorded memory of your brain is that you saw your wife murdered and dead, and then you wake up constantly and there's this fucking twin? Like, what is she doing here? Hey, you're dead. I saw you die. Like, how many times do they have that conversation? You're dead. What are you doing? You're dead. Dead. You dead? You dead one? What was that relationship like? Like, does he, because it's like seeing her, does that change his mind? Does that like, oh, clearly I was wrong. Thank God. That would get annoying too. Oh my God, thank God you're a lot. Like every single time, every 10 minutes.
You're saying that whenever he resets, he's resetting to...
He only knows things from before he hit the floor. And the last thing that he saw was his dead wife. So to him, that's a memory that's stuck. That's it. And it's the last one that happened. So if he's waking up all the time after the accident, after she's fine.
Oh, but before she dies. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. While she's in his life. Like, you're not supposed to be here. You're dead. I saw you dead. Like, what is his reaction? Is it like he's happy? I mean, because that sounds exhausting either way, right?
Yeah, that's your dog being so joyous. Yes. My wife, my beloved wife. So I like that your wife gets so fucking mad. She's like, just fucking kill me.
I'm alive. Oh, I need a shot.
But this is another Inception through line of the thing of DiCaprio and his wife had to do these weird things to each other to pull them out of the dream worlds. He had to incept her with the fucking spinning top. She had to jump off a hotel balcony.
Well, I remember nothing.
I
about
know,
the movie,
but
so
some people listening do.
Yeah, great. So maybe I could watch it and experience it.
You will. You're not going to remember this.
You've ruined it for me.
How is that ruining
You've
it for you?
taken away the magic of my brain, which is that I get to reset. You've unreset me.
So he starts attacking this Jimmy guy. It seems like he's killed him, but he hears the guy muttering Sammy. And Guy Pearce is like, wait a minute, how do you know that name? Sammy, the only people who could know about Sammy are people who I've spoken to. That means I must have talked to this guy before.
But what would that matter?
I don't know. For him, that means
That does mean he talked to him after when he would have killed his wife.
that this is not the guy who actually killed my wife.
Yeah.
And Joe Pantoliano explains everything. Like, no, we got the guy a year ago. We thought it would cure you. No, it didn't. We've just been doing this over and over and over again.
Lucky
He's like,
for you, I love it.
but he knew about Sammy. You tell everyone about Sammy.
Because that's part of his regimen.
Mm-hmm. So you lie to yourself to be happy. We all do it.
But then they go back and forth between the like, oh, when he's pinching her, but it's not really him pinching her, it's him giving her a shot. But then it goes back to him pinching her, and it's like the movie's like, who cares what the truth is? Ah!
That's a visual thing Nolan will return to over and over again. Is you see something in a memory, you see it again, but something is slightly different, and now it takes on a different valence.
And that
seems like a cute thing.
Fine. But then he does it the third thing, which is to go back to the first.
Because
that's
it's memory.
Annoying.
That's memory. That's it's all true
That's
simultaneously.
memory, baby.
Exactly. Yes, it's marriage. We're all trying to give each other shots. We're all trying to pinch each other. Ooh, got you.
I'm gonna
got
pinch you
little
so
thigh.
hard after that. I'm gonna come right for your thigh.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Pinching on your thigh is a good time. You're about to have the time of your life.
That's my thing. You lie to yourself to be happy. We all do it. You're living a dream, a dead wife to pine for, a sense of purpose to your life, a romantic quest that you wouldn't end even if I wasn't in the picture. And that's the whole thing. And it's also the whole thing of Nolan's entire filmography. Or maybe it's changed recently, but we'll see. I mean, his new movie is The Odyssey, the oldest story in the world about a guy who's just trying to get home to his wife.
Fuck's sake. And it's going to be him just like, he's almost there, but then, these sirens,
Yeah. Oh,
I'm there, but then like, the
wind
earth
blew
opens
me.
up.
Yep.
I hate that kind of fucking story. Nolan?
And this
It's
time,
the way I feel when an ant is this close to like a crumb and I can see it's really made a journey. Right? Like it started from the grass over there and then someone comes by and just kicks that ant. And it's like, oh, buddy, that's a whole day's worth of work. That's what it's like.
you're a very empathetic person thinking about the ants like that.
It's because of all the movies. Bugs Life, Ants,
Both of them.
all the movies.
But Teddy's like given him this speech a billion times before. He's so sick of it and even says, come on, we'll go get beignets together, whatever.
It's your favorite.
But this time, Teddy is not careful enough because he lets Lenny go off by himself to write himself a little note and does it in the clever way of, I'll give myself clues that I know will point me in the direction of this guy.
You can't give them pens. You don't. It's like a toddler. You give them a permanent marker, you can have it all over your walls.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I have to believe in a world outside my mind. I have to believe the world still goes on when I close my eyes. And he closes his eyes while he's driving.
But he's making the choice to remember the wrong thing. This is when you see kind of this is nope. La 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 la. He's a mean man. Kill him. Like he'd rather murder someone than remember a story where his wife didn't love him.
Right. And that's life. That's what makes us human is the stories we tell about ourselves.
He turned himself into a murderer by saying kill him. He did it when he knew that was not true. In that moment he knew that was not true. And he still wrote that note, and that note is what killed him. Him deciding. This
guy has made me murder people on his behalf. That's also not okay. That perhaps is worthy of me.
That's not why he's doing it. He's doing it so that man can never tell him that horrible thing again that hurt him so bad, to know that he is Jimmy or Sammy or where the fuck these names are. And his wife hated you. Your wife hated you at the end so bad that she killed herself.
Yes, I agree. And that's really interesting. I think it's just frustrating. I really loved this movie like 3 years ago. And now I find it kind of, I experience it the way I assumed this movie would be before I had ever seen it, which is frustrating and sort of like a gimmick. And it's not a gimmick. There's tons of interesting stuff going on in the movie.
Absolutely. It's just that it leaves me a little empty.
Yeah.
And maybe it's like too good of a commentary on like how useless and futile some things are. Some wants are, a lot of desires are, your mission, your goal, that it's not really about achieving it. You don't even want to achieve it. You've achieved it 100 times and it didn't fill you up. It's like what you want is to want something. And that's it.
And a story about a guy who's built a palace out of self-delusion and will, like you said, manipulate this elaborate system to kill this guy to ensure he never makes me remember the truth about myself.
Right.
That's interesting.
I need to be around only the people who will let me keep believing this. And if it makes me a murderer to a bunch of innocent people, then at least I get to keep my mind palace.
Yeah.
You selfish son of a bitch. This is why you didn't become a fucking superstar, Guy Pearce.
Yeah.
His teeth are too big.
And I like him a lot.
Okay.
But the performance, I don't know.
I would rather like Edward Norton. Like I feel like that's the right kind of disheveled, like just untethered, wandering. But like there's rage in there. Like
there's rage and there's something
because in Fight Club and in American History X, there's this like misplaced anger of just like my life is not what I thought it should be. I've been misled.
Yeah, something a little scary about him. And this character is scary, and Guy Pearce does make him scary at times.
I just see a sad... that was the thing. On the second watch, I didn't feel like he was capable at all. He felt like a useful idiot, and it made me so sad. It's like when my mom gave me the Lil Miss Executive set for Christmas, and it came with a briefcase, but the briefcase was like kid sized, and it's like, this is fucking stupid. The whole point was for me to feel like a junior Miss Executive, and I need a full size, and then like it's got a flip phone, but it's this big, and it's like, what?
Just make it the right size.
I'm not this. Oh, how am I supposed to pretend?
Wait, how is this like that?
I don't know. It's just like, it's like, oh, give her this, and she'll just be on her way to make believe land. She just can do whatever she wants, and but it's this little reminder of this is fake. This is, I don't know why it's the same thing, but it feels like it. Like they just wind me up and watch me go, but where I go is right into the wall, nothing to do because this phone doesn't work and this briefcase is too small to hold my documents. It didn't even hold a letter-sized piece of paper. What kind of executive has to fold their paper to fit it in their fucking...
When I was a kid, my dad had a briefcase. My dad drives a truck for a living. Why did he need a briefcase? But I'll tell you what was in that briefcase. Scotch tape and stamps.
That's just
and
smart.
I would get into the briefcase and take his Scotch tape, and he would yell his catchphrase, "Thieves!"
He was fucking right.
Thieves! And he was right. He was right, and I find myself feeling more like my dad every day. Every day when I can't find one of my charging bricks, one of my thieves.
You know where they are. They're all.
I know who has them. It doesn't mean that I know where they are or that I want to look in the places they might be.
Sleeping on a pile of them.
I know.
And they're little rat nests.
Thieves. So, final thoughts on Memento. Found it more frustrating.
I liked Following better.
I think it's a better movie than Following. I had more fun watching Following.
Yes. So I guess it's like, what do I need? A Disney ride or something to make me think? And I think the answer is, I need both. I'm going to need Gone Girl, okay? Like, I don't know. I think this one was a little bit too much processing. It made me feel the way I felt when I was watching Tenet and Inception, where it's like, I know to pay attention during a movie, but when I know a movie is one of those movies where you have to pay attention, or you're gonna be even lost at the end than you would be had you taken in everything, it's exhausting. I just like that even on medicine, that's not how ADHD works. It's just not. It like makes me too. I'm too tense in a homework way, not in a what's gonna happen next way. It's like, is this gonna be on the quiz? That's what it feels like, and then it's like there's not even a quiz. I guess I'll watch it again.
So the most interesting things about it are sort of ways that you can see it has themes in common with movies he would go on to make. Things where you can project what you know about him onto the characters.
The most interesting things to me are the themes it's playing with, and like how little does it take to make somebody unlovable, and they still look like them, they still talk like them, and yet And I just how disposable people are. It's sad, guys.
I think that the ideal version of this movie is the version that gives you the experience of Lenny, which is basically all of time is happening simultaneously. Effects precede causes. And I think Inception beautifully gives you the experience of not knowing if you're in a dream or not.
I'm looking forward to watching that again. I think I was too young. I only saw it in the theater. So and I just, I was like, is this not Juno 2? I came here for then Ellen Page.
So, but
I really did watch that movie because of her. Wouldn't that be her follow-up, Juno?
Not immediate. Now them. Not
Wait,
their.
Is it they them? I thought it was he him.
I believe it's they them.
Okay.
Not their immediate. Elliot's immediate follow-up.
I know that.
But big, but big follow. I mean, like next big huge movie.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like Memento succeeds at making you feel like you're experiencing all of time simultaneously.
No, just makes me feel like I'm watching a very confused person.
So then the other thing is Tenet, which is a movie I find very frustrating and feel like I can't connect to and don't really understand. I nevertheless feel is a lot of fun to watch. Film noirs overload you with information and you're supposed to feel lost and adrift. And that is kind of the experience of Tenet. And I don't feel it in Memento. And so I'm just not having fun watching it. So I'm going to give it 3 stars. I think it's interesting, but ultimately not that pleasant to watch.
And it's rewatchable, but for all the wrong reasons. 3 sounds right.
Yeah, and I was surprised because my Nolan rankings on Letterboxd, I had this I think at number 4 before watching it. To prepare for this podcast.
On one of my watch this movie before you die, and I'm like, I made that list 2 years ago. I've never fucking seen this movie. I guess it's
movies that you have to see Memento before you die.
Yes.
But as we said, you're Lenny. You forget things as soon as they happen. So what's coming up next, Lacey?
Inception?
Next week is Batman Begins.
Already.
Insomnia is the movie that he made between Memento and Batman Begins.
Yeah, but you're doing that with Coda.
On the Patreon. And that is the only movie that he ever made in his career as a hired gun. They had a script. They had a project. Chris, will you make this movie? Oh, yeah, sure. Here I come. So it doesn't have as much Nolan-y stuff in it. Let me use my points. But still a great movie. Batman Begins, a movie I feel very conflicted about. A movie that I showed Lacey when we first started dating.
I Lenny'd up on this, guys, because at first I was like, whoa, fucking Tubular. And then 3 years ago or whatever, I watched it again. I was like, ew.
And I loved this movie when I saw it in theaters, and kind of every time I watch it, I like it less.
That is when you know that he's hit on something novel, but not important, right? Like, it's like, oh, this is a unique, this is a twist on what I'm used to seeing, but it's like, but that twist wears off and then it gets copied and then that makes it even less interesting. And it doesn't it's no longer unique. It's just, now I'm just here to deal with what you've made beyond your little novel idea.
Yeah. So if I'm no longer feeling like this fresh, what's left? And what's left is a lot of stuff that rubs me the wrong way.
Right. So beware of gimmicks. They don't preserve the movie.
That being said, I like Christopher Nolan a lot. And after Batman Begins, we will get to movies that I love.
I'm not going to not see his new movies. Like, he's someone I will watch.
Yeah.
Except for Odysseus.
You're seeing that.
All
Come
right.
on. So if you think this was not a rollicking, joyous, rapturous premiere of Summer of Nolan, stick with us, folks. We got some good stuff coming up.
We're going to get joyous.
Check out all of our social media, please. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok. And follow my band Rural Route 9. And thank you again to TJ Behrens and Wade Hemel for helping us make our new theme song.
Goodbye. Okay, you love.
All right.
I did it backwards.